Okay, hello. We are very excited to be here to talk to you about the State Department of Education curriculum and resources that go along with Standard One. And here with me is Carrie Hickson. She is a personal finance teacher at Mustang High School and is also an OC master teacher of personal finance. And she's been a big part of getting this implemented in our state and also helping to write and review curriculum for this program. So she is going to give us, this is one of the hardiest and meatiest standards of the whole set. And so she's going to share a little bit about that as well. But these are going to be a little bit more of an overview than in depth into each of the resources because there is so much to cover. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Carrie.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, Standard One covers a lot of material, and it does take a while for me personally to work my way through. It's probably one of the longest standards that we have time-wise. You can shorten it up depending on what you have, but my goal today is just kind of to give you a broad overview of what each one of the modules covers, because there's 5 modules in Standard One. So getting started. Module 1 talks about jobs versus careers, because the goal is to help make sure students understand the difference between those two, what a job is versus what a career is. And then it talks about how increasing their human capital through education can make a huge difference in their income over the course of their life. And I think that's something that's very important for students to understand. In the teacher guide that goes along with the standard, there are enrichment strategies at the end, and at the end of that, there are several suggestions for a career scavenger hunt. This could be used to introduce students to all the different careers and the resources that are available for researching their choices. I actually have my students do a career research using the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook. And I encourage my students to do this research prior to spending time and money on any education or training for a career, because if they research it first, they might find out that it doesn't meet their goals. Some students might find out, oh, this is going to take 6 years before I can get a job doing this. That's not what I want to do. So having them know where to go to research, I think, is one of the big blessings of this enrichment opportunity in that. Module 2 then takes us to paying for a post-secondary education. This has been shifted to Standard One. So this is new. If you have been teaching this, it's now moved to Standard One. And it's going to help students understand the costs that are associated with continuing their education and the different ways to finance that cost, including how to fill out the FAFSA. Personally, I've discovered that most students who aren't seniors have never heard of the FAFSA. They don't even know what it is. And even a lot of seniors don't know what it is. Or they don't understand the different types of loans that are out there and that are available for them. One of the resources I've used besides the state's material to help my students is an EverFi module. EverFi is an online curriculum, and they have a financing higher ed module that discusses the different options available to help pay for college in a pretty easy format. So if for some reason we're virtual again, that would be an easy way to bring that information to your students. I also have students play a game called the Payback Game that Next Gen Personal Finance puts out, which is another online curriculum that is out there. This game takes them through 4 years of college, and they have to make these choices throughout the game, and the choices can impact their focus, their connections, their happiness, and then also their debt. And if you go too low on any of those first 3 categories, the game actually kicks you out of school, and which is really shocking for students. But students really enjoy playing this and seeing how even seemingly small decisions can have a big impact, not just on their life in college, but on how much debt they're going to take on after college in relation to the career that they're choosing. So just another option there to help make it a little more fun and engaging. Module 3 talks about income and taxes. And in this one, students gain an understanding of how to determine their gross pay versus their net pay, how to analyze pay stubs so they can understand what are required deductions and optional deductions like income tax, FICA, insurance and retirement contributions. Again, I've discovered a lot of students don't know how paychecks are calculated. They get a paycheck, but they have no clue as to how it's determined. And they don't even, a lot of times, know what their pay stubs is or to look at them, because a lot of industries now are putting everything online. And so they would have to go onto the internet to pull their pay stub. I highly encourage students to always get their pay stub and look at it, because mistakes can and do occur, especially if they're an hourly worker. Like, did you get paid for the correct number of hours this pay time? So understanding how paycheck work is huge for students. There is a paycheck deduction activity at the end of this module, and it is great for helping students grasp this concept and to have a better understanding of how to read their own pay stubs then. So I would suggest using that paycheck deduction activity. Module 4 talks about goal setting. Students need to understand the why and how of goal setting so that they can make their own goals for their personal finances. Understanding the different types of goals, like in regards to short-term, medium-term, long-term, this can then help them set goals in their lives. And the module offers a lot of really good suggestions to help them do this. I also go over the SMART goal acrostic with my students. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard of that. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And I have them practice by writing down a financial goal and an educational goal. Then they swap with another student or a couple students to make sure that their goals that they've written down meet all the criteria. Then I ask them to write it down on an index card and turn that into me. I give these back at the end of the semester, and then students can see if they've accomplished their goals or not, or if they're on track to meet their goals. And this is great for students who don't see themselves as goal setters, which I would probably be one of those. And for those who tend to make really vague suggestions, like, I just want to do better or I want to just save up some money. So it helps them make better goals so that they can follow through and to see if they have followed through. So just a suggestion there. The very last module in this is budgeting. And this can take a long time to cover depending on how much material you want to go or how deep you want to go. A lot of students have a negative connotation with the word budget. We think it is a restriction for our spending, kind of like diets are with our eating, and it's like, ooh, budget, yuck. But I try to emphasize that a budget is their creation and they're in total control of their budget. And if they don't like it, they can change it because it's their budget. And that the goal of the budget or a financial plan is to help them meet their financial goals. What do they want to accomplish? Which goes back to the goal setting then. And so the budget can help them get there. Now, the age of the students in your class and whether they have a job can make a really big difference in the relevancy of this topic. The younger the students, the harder it is to make it a little more relevant. And I have sophomores through seniors. And the first thing that I have them do really at the very beginning of the semester is I have them start tracking their spending, and I have them do it for an entire month. Yes, I'm that mean teacher. And that's what I tell them, because I want them to see where their money is going, whether it's their money or the money that their parents are giving them for spending. The reason is that this is usually really eye-opening for most students because they have no idea how much they spend and where they're spending it. This module has a spending log activity at the end, and I really liked it when I looked at it, because the other thing that it requires them to do is to ask them what they were feeling when they spent the money. And in doing this, it helps them look for patterns in their spending. So do they spend when they're bored? Do they spend when they're with friends? Do they spend when they're hungry? Well, they're teenagers, of course they do. But those types of things. So I really like that. The other activity in this module gives them Margie, who's a fictitious student, and it gives us Margie's information to work with. The reason I like this is because it's nice for especially younger students or those without a job who don't have money to budget. It gives them some information to work with. The other thing is, even if those students do, or for those students who do have money and are spending it, this activity is asking them to work with a budget that's not their own. And that way they can learn to make adjustments without any emotional ties to it. So this could also be a really good small group project. So I'm going to come in and share my screen on this one so that you can see what this looks like. So this is Margie's spending plan, and it says she's a junior at Center High School, and it gives you information about her job and what she's supposed to pay and where she spends her money. And this is pretty relevant to most students and pretty applicable for most of them will be spending. Then it has us list them as whether they were fixed or variable expenses, and this module goes and talks through those and breaks those apart and has you calculate the weekly and the monthly amount, which is pretty easy to do based on what we've already been given. But then it throws a kink in it and it says, hey, she wants a new car. This is what she's going to have to do, and this is her paycheck for a week. So where does she need to make changes? And talking about, is it easy to change your fixed expenses, or is it easier to change your flexible or variable expenses? And have the students work through that to make the choices for Margie to figure out where can she come up with savings so that she can get this new car that her parents are willing to help her with, but only if she makes adjustments. And so it allows students that opportunity to work with a budget, again, that they have no emotional ties to, but that they can start working with and then see, hey, this is how I can adjust my budget also. And budgets can be adjusted at any time. Again, they're not set in stone. And I think that's important for students to understand. You can work with your budget and you can change it as you need to work for what your goals are. So that's just kind of a little bit of what this lesson covers, what this standard covers. As you can see, it does cover a lot of material, but it sets the groundwork for the rest of the standards I feel that they'll be working on. I usually spend at least 2 weeks on this module, but you can obviously adjust it based on the time that you have with your students. If you have less time, you can do less work and just do these state lessons. If you have more time, there's more things that you can integrate into it. The lessons also have PowerPoint presentations that are helpful to use when you're teaching these to students. The teacher guide that is available has step-by-step instructions to help you navigate through these, and it offers talking points to go along with the slides. And I personally find these really useful to help me stay on topic and to help me make sure I've covered all the material. So that might be something you want to look at also. So I hope this short little overview helps you to see what it is that is in this module and what you can do with it. So Amy, back to you.
Very good. Okay. Thank you so much, Carrie. That was really helpful. And I loved you kind of offered a couple other resources. Next Gen was one of those. And just that's a great resource to share with our teachers, is a great place to go and find some extra games and ways to engage students in different ways. So thank you so much, Carrie, for your time. And we will see everybody in the next video.